Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Church leaders call for greater Sunday's ritualized killings in Montego Bay. Manhunt still on in St. Thomas. And later in sports, Elaine Thompson-Hera leaves MVP to train independently. I'm O'Shane Masters. Here are the details. TVJ News has been informed that most of the congregants from Pathways International Kingdom Restoration Ministries of Montego Bay St. James, who were detained following Sunday's deadly incident, have been charged under the Disaster Risk Management Act. So far, 30 women and 10 men, including the leader of the church, Kevin Smith, have been charged for being out on a no-movement day. They remain in custody along with the pastor of the church and the female member of the Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF. Her service pistol has been seized for ballistic testing. Investigators are still collecting statements to determine the persons who should be charged with the murders of 2 congregants killed as part of a ritual. A third person was shot dead by the police. 3 persons have also been hospitalized. The police said they were called to the building by an injured congregant. The woman was reportedly injured after she disobeyed instructions given to her by leaders of a religious group. It's reported that other information was provided that led the police to believe that persons were at risk. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says the police prevented a potential mass killing of women and children. In the meantime, church leaders are this afternoon calling for greater oversight of groupings that are flying religious banners across the island. Regrettable. That's how Anglican Archbishop of the West Indies, Reverend Howard Gregory, has labeled the incident which unfolded at the Pathways International Restoration Ministries of Montego Bay St. James on Sunday. Archbishop Gregory says he has never seen anything like what took place in Montego Bay.
What we are seeing here is a cult, and this is of the nature of cults, that persons, as it were, give absolute sort of obedience and deference to a leader who controls the mind of individuals. This does not represent the mainstream of religion in this country.
President of the Independent Churches of Jamaica, Neville Owens, agrees.
A lot of people in this nation have used the church, organized religion, to conduct whatever business they want to conduct. How they are vetted, how they are allowed to gain access to that, I don't know. But this definitely is no church.
Archbishop Gregory says concerns had previously been raised about the religious organization located in Albion Meadows. He says people should be wary of cult-like organizations as there are usually signs leading up to a major event.
Something must have been going on before. As I've indicated, leaders of cults play with the minds of people. Don't forget Jonestown, where people took poison. Did they see that particular day coming? Probably not. But they would have seen things that made a few leave that community. And I would say the same for this community here.
3 people were killed on Sunday evening, 2 as part of a ritual. 3 other people have also been hospitalized. In the meantime, the president of the Independent Churches of Jamaica is calling for the government to intervene to provide some guidance in the setting up of religious groups.
It may be that it is too easy, too liberal, the process, for people, individuals, persons to establish, be it a religious order or whatever comes under the connotation of a church. Not that you want to infringe upon the rights of people, but then you want to protect the rights of people, not to be absorbed into groups like these that can hurt family life, children, parents, adults, and even teenagers.
A manhunt is still on for Davian Bryant, the man who is believed to be behind the abductions of 9-year-old Felicia Prussia and a 13-year-old Winche Barrett. Both girls were found alive over the weekend. Felicia was found in Arcadia while Winche was found in Springbank. Our reporter Anthony Lugg is in St. Thomas and filed this report.
Thank you. I'm currently in the community of Springbank. Springbank is the same community where 13-year-old Winche was found yesterday by members of the community and the security forces. Now, we've been here since about 8:30, 9 o'clock, and all the complaints from residents are the same. The residents say they're living in fear, their children are scared, and things have not been the same since last Friday. I spoke with one resident, and here's what she had to say.
I'm afraid because we don't know where the man is. If it's not, maybe it's not a child alone, because he might go after everybody when he can really move. I understand, so I don't know.
What is it you want know more than anything else?
For them catch the man. That's me. Them catch him. More effort need to put out to catch him. That is my time now.
No, the search continues. Residents are still out here on the road just combing the area. We've also been getting information that members of the security forces as well as more residents are in the community of Arcadia, and we will be heading there. So we will be monitoring the situation here in St. Thomas, and we'll be providing update in subsequent newscasts. Until then, it's back to you in studio.
Thanks, Anthony. The Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities says a staff shortage as well as increased demand for its services are two of the reasons it is facing difficulties reaching some of the most vulnerable. Executive Director of the agency, Dr. Christine Hendricks, believes the Disabilities Act could help the council reach more members of the disabled community. Sandra Williams reports.
There's a high demand for the services of the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, JCPD, but the agency does not have enough staff members to do the job. The JCPD has 4 social workers and 1 senior social worker serving 14 parishes.
Think about that. 4 human beings, social workers, females covering the island. 1 senior social worker.
Executive Director at the JCPD, Dr. Christine Hendricks, laments the difficulties in reaching some of the most vulnerable with just 5 officers.
Because the truth is, a lot of times persons with disabilities, they live in areas that are far removed from the urban areas, even in the rural areas. And so reaching to them and getting the information to them, bringing some out because of transportation challenges, because of connectivity in whatever way. Some maybe don't even have a radio to be hearing what is happening, to be hearing what is taking place, to know that they can benefit from some things.
And the government's COVID-19 measures have not made things any easier.
Coming into 2021, our social workers went out a bit more, but still not to the degree to which they could go out, because we had to stagger the office hours because of the social distancing mandate, and also because so persons wouldn't be at work. You'd have to work from home, and going out for some was challenging.
The Disabilities Act is expected to provide more personnel to the council. The long-awaited regulation to govern the Disabilities Act of 2014 was passed in the lower house of Parliament on Wednesday, October 6. It will take effect on February 14, 2022. Dr. Hendricks says while the act will not resolve all the challenges, it will help the council's work to reach more people living with disabilities across the country.
We look forward to that because the new council that the Act establishes is not this one. It will not look like this one. It will have a more robust system with more social workers across the island in each parish serving the people. It will have the varying professionals that will be required to better serve the people in the way that they truly deserve.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
President of the People's National Party, Mark Golding, says despite the issues, the party is strong and is ready to take over as government. In his first address at a PNP conference as president, Mr. Golding listed several areas where he says the current government is failing, promising fixes if his party forms the next administration.
By the PNP's assessment, the government has failed Jamaica. And for PNP President Mark Golding, the JLP's biggest failure so far is its handling of the economy.
In the last year leading into the COVID pandemic, the last normal year, 2019 to 20 fiscal year, Jamaica showed no growth whatsoever. Violent crime continues to get worse with each passing year. Murders this year are 10% over the same period last year, despite nightly curfews and frequent no-movement days.
His list of government failures then turned to the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic, noting that the death toll has passed 2,000 people along with a struggling vaccination program. Former PNP President P.J. Patterson joined the criticism of scandals and questionable dealings, which he says are clear cases of corruption. He listed issues with the used car for police, the Caribbean Maritime University, the Nutrition Products Limited investigations, and last week's Education Ministry audit involving the Permanent Secretary. Mr. Golding insists under his party's leadership, Jamaica would do better. Firstly, addressing the minimum wage.
Several years ago, Audley Shaw promised a minimum wage of $12,000, but failed to keep that promise. I am calling on this government to move the current minimum wage to $12,000 and repair that broken promise that was made to the Jamaican people. The next PNP administration commits to annual increases in the minimum wage to keep a pace with the cost of living. We will protect our workers.
As well as financing for tertiary level students.
The next PNP government will reconfigure the loan structure used by the Student Loan Bureau so as to cap monthly payments at 15% of the borrower's monthly income, to ensure that it is manageable for young tertiary graduates. The state, and not the student, should bear the risk of employment creation. So we will provide a payment moratorium for students who are seeking work. And we will abolish altogether the requirement of finding a guarantor to access student loans. That is why PNP is strong.
Dwayne Anderson, TVJ News.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News. Stay with us. More stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. The Ministry of Health is reporting that 6 people died from the coronavirus between October 15 and 17. The death toll is now 2,123. 2 of the deaths were previously under investigation. 1 more death is being investigated. And COVID-19 hospitalizations have jumped from 347 on Monday to 361. 44 of those admitted are severely ill, while 20 are in critical condition. 190 more people have recovered from the respiratory illness, pushing the recovery count to 55,827. There are 29,120 active cases on the island. Meanwhile, 81 COVID-19 cases were confirmed yesterday from 380 samples. The positivity rate is 20.3%. Jamaica has recorded 87,667 cases of the virus. As the country continues the fight against COVID-19, Chief Executive Officer at the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, Dennis Morgan, is insisting that there is no room for complacency. Mr. Morgan says despite a reduction in COVID-19 admissions at the facility, the health team remains uneasy until more persons take the COVID-19 vaccine.
They know very well, based on experience and the trend, that it's only a matter of time, maybe days. We might be days away from the next wave. So they're not okay until we have reached a critical mass in terms of vaccination in this country. They're not okay, but they are ready for it. And so they're using the experience of this wave that we are in to plan for the next wave.
As a result, Mr. Morgan is renewing calls for Jamaicans, including healthcare workers, to get the jab.
Like I said to my staff member and my colleagues, I understand your hesitation. And I am not sure, after all you've seen, why the continuation of the hesitation. I can only use moral suasion. And if that is not working, then the next thing is for government to mandate. I am not advocating for that because we live in a democracy.
The trial of the 33 alleged members of the Wandon gang did not get underway this morning as the alleged leader of the criminal network, Andre Blackman Bryan, is awaiting his COVID-19 test result. Another alleged member of the gang, Jermaine Robinson, has contracted the virus. Mr. Robinson, who the court heard is asymptomatic, is the third defendant to have contracted the virus. Chief Justice Brian Sykes today disclosed that arrangements will be made to connect Mr. Robinson via video link tomorrow. He is expected to be released from isolation on Sunday. Justice Sykes said a similar arrangement will be made for Mr. Bryan if he receives a positive COVID result. And it's now time for the Business Minute. Opposition leader Mark Golding is asserting that the movement in the cost of living is higher than is being reported by the authorities. Mr. Golding was speaking at the People's National Party's 83rd annual conference on Sunday.
Compare the pricing of a list of basic items from a leading wholesaler in April and again in August this year. The overall increase was 15% in less than 6 months.
Inflation for the 12 months to August 30 was 6.1%. This was higher than the 4% target of the Bank of Jamaica and is tracking just outside the upper limit of the band in which a central bank is mandated to manage price escalations in the economy. And Walmart announced it plans to launch 3 sales in November marketed as Black Friday deals. Deep holiday discounts have historically been reserved for the Friday after Thanksgiving, known as Black Friday. Retailers are experimenting with spreading those deals over a longer period of time. Walmart is planning for each sale to become available on its website first and then hit stores 2 days later. It joins retailers like Best Buy, Target, and Amazon in marking down popular items well ahead of the holiday season. Walmart also says it is planning to close stores on Thanksgiving for the second year due to the pandemic. And that's it for the Business Minute. It's now time for the top regional and international stories with Sandy Williams.
In the region, the Caribbean Community CARICOM foreign ministers have discussed the ongoing socio-economic and political situation in Haiti, examining possible modes of intervention to assist a Haiti-driven solution. That's according to a statement issued by the Guyana-based CARICOM Secretariat. The statement gave no further details on the matter, but in recent months, Haiti has been facing a series of situations, including the assassination of President Jovenel Moïse on July 7, as well as the postponement of presidential and legislative elections. Last weekend, it was reported that several foreigners were kidnapped. On the international scene, an earthquake struck off the Greek island of Carpathos early on Tuesday, shaking towns and cities across the eastern Mediterranean. There were no immediate reports of casualties or major damage. According to media reports, the tremor, whose magnitude the U.S. Geological Survey measured at 6 and depth at 37.8 kilometers or 23.5 miles, was also felt on several other Greek islands, including Crete and Santorini. And that's the top regional and international stories. I'm Sam.
We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report. Renata Brown is standing by.
Welcome back. It's now time for your midday sports. Double Olympic sprint champion Elaine Thompson-Hira is no longer a member of the MVP track club, contradicting statements she made last month during an interview. A press release obtained by TVJ Sports from a member of the sprinters team Monday night indicated she has already started her preseason preparations independently. The release stated, quote, "I want to assure everyone that I have begun my training independently and will continue to do so while I finalize all aspects of my team for the upcoming season," end quote. This brings to an end speculations that the triple gold medalist from Tokyo Olympics was severing ties with coach Stephen Francis. When news broke last month that she had written a letter stating her intentions to leave MVP, Thompson-Hira, during an interview, stated that there was no truth to the story and noted that the Jamaican media is always spreading rumors about her. The Sunshine Girls will look to close out their 3-match series against Trinidad and Tobago this evening when the two teams meet in Game 2 at the National Indoor Sports Centre. The Jamaicans took a 1-0 lead in the series on Saturday after beating the Calypso girls 71-22 in Game 1 at the same venue. Head coach Connie Francis will be looking to improve combinations ahead of the team's trip to England in November.
After this series, we head into England, and we're also looking forward to that test. I thought that we are ready for it. I thought that all the girls anticipate that it would be a tough challenge, and we're just ready to go there and to do what we have been training for.
And the game is set to start at 6 p.m. and will once again be played without spectators. Cricket news now. Scotland virtually booked their place in the Super 12 phase of the ICC 2020 World Cup after beating Papua New Guinea by 17 runs this morning. Batting first, Scotland posted 165 for 9. Richie Berrington top scored with 70, while Matthew Cross made 45. Kabua Morea was the pick of the PNG bowlers with 4 for 31. In their run chase, PNG were bowled out for 148 inside 19.3 overs. Norman Vanoa top scored with 47 against Josh Davey, 4 for 18. Scotland now has 2 wins from 2 in the group. And that is it for your midday sports report. Shane, it's back to you.
Thanks, Renato. And that's it for the midday news. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for primetime news on behalf of the news, sports, and production teams. Good afternoon.